Here we go on a Sunday morning in Las Vegas. Just after 8 o'clock, I'm Brian Feldman, and this is Out of Line. We're here same time every week. Fox Sports Radio, 98.9 FM and 1340 AM. Pre- and eventually post-pandemic flagship of the Vegas Golden Knights. Also here, co-host Caleb Herring. Last UNLV quarterback to lead the Rebels to a bowl game and eventually broadcasting UNLV football if it ever happens again.
Yeah, we'll see. The season looks dire right now.
Dire. Well, if they have a season, you'll at least be there. You'll be one of the few fans.
That'd be great.
Maybe they'll let you clap this year because there's nobody else to clap.
I'll make my own crowd noise to give people on the radio waves the immersive feeling of being at the stadium. We'll create it.
The sad thing is they might be able to hear you on television.
And it'll just be golf claps.
Yeah,
that's all it'll be.
That's what it'll sound
golf
like.
Claps for touchdowns.
I like it.
Field goal, just get the good old attaboy.
Also here, producer Chris Magnum Chapman. Now the producer and co-host of the Vegas Golden Knights Insider Show on Fox Sports Radio with Ryan the Hockey Guy. Weekdays at 3 and about to restart his duties covering the Vegas Golden Knights starting tomorrow, but you're not going to be down there tomorrow.
No, I'm going to lay low a little bit. I'm really in, and people could call me snowflake or whatever they want. I'm really in no hurry to be in places where there's a lot of people indoors.
Especially where air's circulating,
well,
cold air circulating.
Where I don't have to be. Like,
did they just discover somewhere it was airborne somewhere or something?
Yeah,
they've been talking about it's maybe more airborne
Yeah.
than we thought.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. So it's not. It's a little more aggressive. Everyone's saying, "Oh, it needs our help." Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it can
the
get
thing
in
is,
without our
it's
help.
mutating. So I don't want to mess with anything that's mutating.
No, me neither. The United States is mutating. Also, here, the guy responding to all of today's social media questions and comments, and of course, practicing social distancing, we'll call it in the green room, is our intern and social media director. The only intern in the country with his own theme music. Hey, the show is also streaming on the LV Sports Network. And if you're brave, you can see us on Facebook Live. The page is called Out of Line. That's OUTTALINE. You can also follow the show on Instagram and Twitter. Check out StreamYard, man. Pretty cool stuff. The pages are called, that's at Out of Line on Fox LV. One more time. Out of Line on Fox LV. And since the show is live, your calls are welcome. The Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studio line is 702-876-1340.
Hi, this is Bubby, and it's time for What's on Tap.
It's worth anywhere from $250,000 to $300,000, maybe $400,000 tops.
Wow.
But can you imagine how much of a loss if he was to sell? How much of a loss he took on this ball? It's incredible.
What's on Tap, sponsored by title sponsor Residential Bancorp. Whether purchasing a home or refinancing the home you already own, Residential Bancorp is the company to turn to for all of your home financing needs. Residential Bancorp, funding America one neighborhood at a time. On tap, the guy you just heard, that is TMZ Sports, Michael Babcock, will be joining us on Fox Sports, on the Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studio line in a few minutes to talk about everything from the declining value of Mark McGwire's 70th home run ball to Patrick Mahomes hitting the casino in Reno. Shocking. Maybe $50 million a year reasons why to hit the casino. Although I don't know if the guy's gambling or not, but
I wouldn't. Why?
I mean, well, here's the thing. I mean, think about it. If you think about Patrick Mahomes right now, why would you gamble when pretty soon his bank account will have more money in it than every progressive jackpot combined at the casino? Think about that. If he hit every progressive combined at the casino that night, he would still get less money than he's going to make next year.
Well, you could always have more.
I mean, you can't argue. He probably hit the progressive jackpots too. That guy, talk about the Midas touch.
You know
right
what?
now.
It was funny. Like, people were like, "Hey, you should have played baseball when he came out." Like him and I think there's a couple of quarterbacks that have had that option.
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray, he had that chance. Russell Wilson also, and I mean they're doing well for themselves. I think
Didn't work out so well for Chad Henne.
Yeah, not Chad Henne.
Chad Henne maybe went the wrong direction, but I mean they also advised out of college Danny Ainge to play baseball too, and that didn't work out too well. But he ended up going to the Celtics and making.
I think Danny Ainge is the only person to ever play in the NBA and Major League Baseball.
Yeah. People talk about some of the greatest athletes of all time.
Oh, don't do it. You better not, Brian.
All right, I'm not going to do it.
Thank you.
I can't stand Danny Ainge, but when you can play two professional sports.
No, stop. I said don't.
Okay.
Don't.
It's not like he's playing golf and, or excuse me, like bowling and cornhole.
Stop.
Okay,
hear
if
he's
you
a
could
pretty
play
good golfer.
bowling and cornhole.
Stop it.
Okay.
He was playing golf with Jordan. Remember
Danny Ainge, I'm just going to be clear. Danny Ainge is not even in the top 50
All right, I'm
most
going to ask
athletic
you this
people of all
question. And
time.
Magnum, you already know the answer. Can Caleb beat him in a game of one-on-one?
Absolutely.
No.
Absolutely. White boy will take you to school, man.
Anybody that you guys throw out there as a challenge to me,
He's gonna say
from
he's
the
gonna beat
5th
him.
grader going to school down the street
You know what?
to Michael Jordan, yes, I can beat them.
He has said it in the past, right? I mean, Asia Wilson, let's go.
Yeah,
One-on-one.
let's go. What I have, there's no hesitation for me. Any one of these
Well,
people.
Wait.
Jordan
there
is prime.
There was one.
Who's
like
that?
the UFC fighters. You have no
I
interest.
don't want to fight them. No.
Yeah.
If you're talking about playing a sport that's in my wheelhouse, like if you put any of those UFC fighters on a basketball court, lunch me. I'll tear them apart. Yeah, but never the octagon with anybody. I'd be hesitant with anybody in the octagon.
Even
That's
Amanda,
not for
even
me.
Amanda Nunes.
That's not.
The lioness.
Especially, I'd be like a
She would beat
a
the
zebra
crap
in
out
the
of all four of
clutches.
us at the same time.
What about the two of you guys
What's
in
that?
the octagon?
Oh, he'd kill me.
Yeah, I'd kill him.
He's old.
I'd pay to see
I'm
that.
old.
I'd
so,
pay to
so-
see that.
I'd pay to do it.
He'd kill me. Take a senior citizen to
Yes,
town?
absolutely.
Oh, my God. Well, give me back to my prime. Then I'll take the challenge. All right, here we go. Also, a couple of things besides that we'll be talking about today. Obviously, the Golden Knights start training camp tomorrow morning, and it's open to some media members. Interesting Mags and I will talk a little bit about that during Nightcap in a few. And the NBA is in their bubble, and when we get Michael Babcock on, we'll find out that J.R. Smith isn't just taking off his shirt, he's talking a lot now. The newest member of the Los Angeles Lakers complaining about the accommodations in the bubble. We'll talk about that and a lot more as well.
Rajon Rondo, not a fan of that.
Yeah,
either.
neither. Well, I'm sure a lot of them aren't. Come on, this is not the life they're used to.
Little brats.
Thank you. Baseball is in spring training. They're fully going at it, and a big name tested positive yesterday playing for one of the most prestigious sports franchises in history. So I guess that will let you know which baseball team that is. Plus S&B with C, all on the way, and that's what's on tap. If you're looking to buy a home or to refinance the home you're in, choose a company you can trust. Residential Bancorp, funding America one neighborhood at a time. Well, guys, I don't know if you got a chance. We were talking right before, and you didn't get to see the UFC main event last night. I didn't either. I did see the highlights. I watched a little bit of it online as well. And, it turned out to be, I think, a hell of a fight. It went the distance, unanimous decision. And considering that they changed fighters like a week before the fight because, Gilbert got... he tested positive
Gilbert Burns tested positive for
coronavirus. And so a week later, they put together probably a better fight. It's the debut on Fight Island. And, Abu Dhabi, I mean, that's where we're fighting now. What did he pay for that island? I think it's Yas Island. He paid like, what, $5 or $6 million?
How much do islands cost? I feel like there's a lot of people that just purchase islands. First, I didn't know that there's just that many islands for sale. Then how much do they cost? Where Dana White has enough money to buy an island.
This
on
island
a whim.
isn't a small little island.
Yeah,
They've run a Grand Prix race on this island. I mean, it's big.
It's crazy.
The UFC, remember, I mean, what did it sell for? $4 billion? So clearly the people who run UFC have a lot of cash.
Tons of money. They don't pay. The fighters don't get any
So
money.
is the island in UFC's name or is it Dana White's name?
I don't think it's in Dana White's name. It's probably
like a joint business venture,
in a corporation that is owned by Dana White.
You got to talk about to the mortgage guy over here, but
I'm telling you right now, it isn't.
And you know what? Because it's in Abu Dhabi, I'm guessing they don't have to pay any tax on it.
I probably don't have to wear
It's
masks
in some
either.
kind of a trust. I will guarantee you that it is in some kind of Dana White Trust Foundation or something.
Like the Clintons.
And
I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. Sorry.
But
I
I
think we
think
win a couple million, we'll buy an island. We can do the show from there.
I don't want the assumption around islands these days. I don't want to have an island.
you know
I want
what?
people to start rumors about me.
You're probably right.
I'll leave it alone.
Islands aren't a good subject right now.
hopefully there's no videos.
Private islands.
Jesus.
Yeah, no videos, no high schools either.
It's hard not to talk about it. This country's really in a bad spot right now.
It's like what you just brought up is like the 12th most notariable thing. I can't. That's not even a word. Notable thing that has gone on like the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Like,
2020 it's like 2020 somebody found Pandora's box and opened it, and then all the horrors of the world are spilling out onto 2020 right now.
Well, like it's
disgusting.
It's just so hard to wrap your mind around it, right? Like Kobe Bryant passing away in that helicopter crash.
It seems like forever ago.
It seems like it was like 5 years ago.
Yes.
It does.
Oh my goodness.
It really does. I mean, it's so diluted. Because of what happened right now. I mean, this is all that there is. And here we are back in phase 1 again with the bars closing down on Friday night at midnight.
Yeah, casinos are open still.
Well, yeah, the casinos are open.
You know?
And if you have a restaurant in your bar, you can open. People just can't sit at the bar. So they'll go there, they'll order some celery and get completely wasted sitting at a table.
Yeah. You know, like, and I'll preface this by saying I like Sisolak. Like, I feel like he's done the best job he possibly could do. However, I have a real issue with this. Like, to me, you need to punish the people who aren't in compliance. Like, you don't paint that broad of a brush. Mm-hmm. Like, I know that there's a lot of bars that are complying with the regulations and the mandates. Why are they being punished because other bars aren't? Like, I was reading about grocery stores. Like, one grocery store was saying that they're not enforcing it because people are coming in and they're just taking it off.
Yeah.
Then don't serve them.
Yeah.
Listen, you're a private enterprise. You have the right to tell people.
I guess the only thing I have an issue with this whole Sisolak thing is that there's never been a clear definition of what essential is and what isn't. Well, and I think that if to in someone's eyes, their business is essential because it's their life. It's their life.
And I understand when he was asked about the construction, like, oh, why did you?
Like construction's still going on. Housing market's still good.
I can't put another 100,000 people out of work.
Yeah.
You have to respect that.
But it just feels like selective destruction when it's your business that goes out of business, and that's the thing we can't be non-empathetic about is that for some people they have been able to, especially in this city, make a killing, a very good living off of their business, and it has been deemed non-essential, and that closure of that business has meant the basically end of their life. The end of the life that they knew is, especially the next month. This next month is where we're really going to start feeling the impact because all the forbearance programs are ending. That the assistance isn't coming anymore.
They're going to have to.
And the thing is, I don't know what this country's track record if they're going to. I don't think that the capital gains will be less important than human lives.
Well,
and
at some point you can extend them. I mean, there's only so much to go around,
and you bankrupt the country if you keep continuing to do that.
In the same respect, what happens to people that literally can't afford? The whole thing
we've done this dance in 2000, in 2007, 2008. We've done this dance, and it's happened, and I don't see it not happening again.
A similar dance.
Well, the sad reality of this is, had the federal government from the beginning, like Dr. Fauci said earlier in the week, and I know there's a lot of people who criticize him. They're idiots if you criticize this guy. You know what? He's gotten some things wrong, but to have him constantly on attack, the man's been in that position since 1984. He has forgotten more about infectious diseases than these YouTube experts will ever know. Yeah. And the thing is, like he said this week, you can't have 50 different plans.
Yeah.
We are too big of a country. There is too much a divide. So had the federal government, like in every other industrialized country in the world, guess what? You want to know why the NHL is going to Canada? Because Justin Trudeau and their federal government got their crap together.
And
they were organized.
And it's not even just the response.
Organization.
It's not even just the response part. It's the being ready part. Yeah. Like our federal government failed to be ready for this. It's a task that was up to them.
States against each other.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. And that's what happens when you don't have a single payer system because you don't have a single payer. You don't have a single payer initiative when it comes to health concerns. You have a competitive market when it comes to keeping your people healthy, and that's very irresponsible of the president of a country to leave it to the states.
That has crushed this curve, whether it's Canada, Germany, Spain. I mean, look, it was rough in Spain and Italy for a while, but they've gotten a lot better. Yeah. Austria, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, they all have socialized medicine.
Yeah,
yeah, and
Norway, it's Finland. Guess what?
Yeah, you know what? I hated the concept of socialized medicine initially, probably because my dad's a doctor, so I was looking at it from a different perspective.
Right.
Now, and when you have a situation like this, it makes so much more sense because what it is it's organized. Socialized medicine is systematic.
I lived in Taiwan. It was the best healthcare I've ever seen in my life.
In certain instances, it doesn't make sense, but right now, it's making a world of sense, literally a world of sense, except here in the United States where people are capitalizing on infectious disease.
Our country as a whole is capital. We bought up all the stock,
and now they've bought all the remdesivir.
Yeah. So like, if there is a cure, we're going to own it, and the whole world's going to have to come crawling us to beg.
Which isn't right.
It's not right at all.
But
I get it. I get capitalism. I get how
the
it works.
Entitlement is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's not just the medical profession. The entitlement.
No, of course not.
It's across the board.
I'm not going to wear a mask. I mean, listen. I'll put this in a sports analogy. So I see people say, "Oh, well, a mask doesn't work." Well, let's hypothetically say it's 75% effective. If I'm making bets on football games and I'm hitting those at 75%,
I'm winning.
I am better than the best handicapper on the planet.
Yeah.
If I'm hitting 75%
no question
of my
about
bets.
it. And the bottom line is the mask, when you cough, it's not going to go 6 feet like your normal cough would. Maybe it goes 2.5 feet. I mean, that's gigantic, a huge difference.
The minor inconvenience that a mask is on your day-to-day life, and this is just when you're going to the store or going to these places that you should be going, because you should be just staying at home, and if you don't have to go anywhere.
Stock up. You go out once every couple of weeks,
the minor inconvenience of wearing a mask is not worth the fight that people are putting up. If you're talking about you don't want to get a vaccine that you don't know and you don't want to put that in your body, that's a whole different area of willingness to fight, I think, for your rights as a person to live your life the way. That's different. But you're talking about a mask, a 15-minute worth of a grocery trip wearing your mask, and you're going to throw a hissy fit and demand, your rights are being infringed upon over the mask. Like, if we're at that point as a country where we can't even say, hey, there's a chance this might be working and we're going to try to help some other people out, put your mask on, please. And that evokes this my Fourth Amendment is being violated.
Unbelievable.
I'm going to sue you for, the Disability Act and all these kind of things when you have no idea how none of that works.
Yeah.
And you're just starting to fuss.
They don't have any idea how
because
it works.
of your entitlement. And that's the most annoying thing about it, is that do I agree 100% that masks should be mandated? Do I think that we should be fining people for not wearing a mask? No, I don't think so. I don't think it should have to get to that. I think that we should be responsible enough to say, hey, this might work. Let's try it. Let's see what we can do to help. And this, as simple as it is, putting a mask on is something that you're going to fight over. Like, save your energy for a better fight, like, the police brutality and all that kind of stuff that's going on in this country really is affecting lives.
The same people who are anti-mask are also blind to police brutality.
Yeah, so it's not a coincidence, I don't think. But
why don't you just take notes? As Chris mentioned, a bunch of other countries that have socialized medicine. But again, take notes and work on doing it right. I've always said, living in Detroit, it used to amaze me that I would go across a river, and on one side of the street, if you're walking around late at night, you're going to get killed. On the other side of the street, you could lay down naked on the other side of the river in the middle of the street at 2 o'clock in the morning and no one would bother you. It was amazing. And I said, why don't we just go across the river and try? And look what Windsor's doing. I mean, they're right across the river.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Numbers in Michigan have just fallen off of a cliff.
Yeah. But the point is why don't you just take notes and do it instead of being so pompous and just saying, our rights are being violated. Yeah. Can you imagine how entitled Roman citizens must have felt after like 5,000 years of being in control? Look at what we feel after 200 years. Yeah. It's unbelievable that we're this crazy. Entitled of a country. It's a joke. And right now, you think of comedians in Asia and other. We've got to be the brunt of everyone's jokes. They're all writing jokes based on Americans right now.
We are like legitimately banned from entering like 150 countries on the planet.
Which sucks because I really want to go there. Like, I really want to just. This was my year to travel.
Me too,
I'm turning 30 next year.
I was supposed to be at the Olympics in 2 weeks.
I had plans. I had big
canceled,
plans. I had big plans for this. And 2020 is just
remember the
saying
pandemic.
No to all of
the
it.
pandemic hit and our shutdown 2 days before I was supposed to leave for Costa
Rica.
Yeah,
so I remember sitting with you at the Mountain West basketball tournament.
And considering that would have been my first trip in 12 years, I mean, I'm pretty bummed out about it. It was big for me, and a lot of us have this going on, and how long? When, and again, I keep asking the question, normality. What is normality going to be? What's it going to be?
I think the normality will be that COVID is just a part of what happens.
It'll be in the history
now.
books one day.
Not even in the history books. I think COVID is just going to be around. I think it's going to be one of those things. It's like
I think at some
we
point
might get a vaccine.
We might go away.
Right. I just don't
But
expect
as a society, when I talk about normality, are we ever going to sit arm in arm in movie theaters again? Are we ever? I mean, how do you not?
That's the choice.
How do you not?
And that's
are
the
you
choice.
going to put up plexiglass in between every seat at a movie theater, every seat at a sporting event, every seat at the Vegas shows? How are you going to do it? You can't put 5,000 people in T-Mobile Arena.
Well, you could start by employing people. I think this is potential for job creation. If you look at because you could say, we need sanitation crews, like more sanitation crews, to be always on duty, actively on duty. I think that.
So what? The minute you get up from your seat, someone comes and sprays it with Lysol.
Absolutely,
at my doctor's office.
Yeah. I mean,
but at a game where you've got 40,000 people sitting there,
I don't see why not. You have people after every game going through the bleach.
Game, but during the game they get up and they sit down 10 times. You cross in front of people.
That's your seat. That's fine. But what I'm saying is, like, there's opportunities to do something better than what we used to do. Sanitation in this country was a joke before. Like, I'm talking about public sanitation, like the way, like, going into a public bathroom is one of the most disgusting things you'll ever do as a person, because it's disgusting 9 times out of 10 in a public bathroom. But sanitation crews 24 hours around the clock, like, that's a job opportunity for people. I mean, you want to talk about job creation, what do you want to do to fix the problem? You have to spend money to do that. But I mean, the new normal, I think, is going to be, we realize that this is a part of life now, just like with the flu. We didn't change everything just because of the flu. We practiced better hygiene. We understood how washing your hands is important, those kind of things. But we didn't change the things that we enjoyed because of the adversity of a sickness that you can or may not get, or these kind of worries about life. And one of my coworkers said it plainly. She's an older lady, and she said, I don't know when everybody decided that tomorrow was promised and that life is guaranteed to everybody each day. I don't know when people decided that, because there's been things that will kill you on this planet. Scarier things than COVID, in my opinion, that I've been exposed to personally because of my profession. There's scarier things out there than COVID that will have the average person shaking in their boots at the fact that you're watching somebody's flesh fall off of their skin.
Really?
Like, those kinds of things have always existed on this planet. But because we're unaware of them, because they're not, rampantly going. And I'm not saying COVID's like this. COVID's an unknown thing. It's new. I get it. But when you're talking about the normalcy after this initial wave of fear and misunderstanding, I think you have to get to the realization that death is a part of life. And not saying that I wish COVID on anybody, or that, we're all doomed to COVID and we should just accept it. But I'm saying that the fear of death is always something that humans are always dealing with. And that's from the beginning of time. And I think we got to get over the fact that when we get to the new normal, we got to get over the fact that you're not going to stop death, no matter how hard you try. You can wear a mask, you can wash your hands, you can do everything right by the book, by what all the medical professionals are telling you, and you'll still get COVID. And that's a reality that may happen, because it's impossible to absolutely eradicate death from life. And that's just a viewpoint that you can look at it from. Maybe that's what the new normal will look like. I don't know, but we'll see when we get there. Maybe COVID goes away. Maybe they find a cure. Maybe this disappears like SARS did, and it just never comes back. But we'll see. Well,
like Chris said, it's mutating. And two things I will say. One, with COVID-19, to me, and again, talking to my dad about this, who has been my main guru of, as far as taking advice, the biggest problem with this virus, again, is that when you have a flu, when you catch the flu, you're sick. There's no flu that doesn't make you sick. COVID has people walking around completely 100% asymptomatic. That is the problem. A person that shows absolutely no signs of anything can infect 20 people around them if they are COVID-19 positive. That is the problem with this virus. And that's the biggest thing that I don't understand, that people don't get, is look what asymptomatic is. It is wicked, because you can be sitting right next to your best friend who could be killing you as you're having a mild conversation and never know it. Your best friend may never, ever, ever get sick, not even a fever. that is what this virus is. Some of us have a natural immunity to it, which is really what makes it so scary. And the second thing, before we go to break, I have to ask, you referred to one of your coworkers as, and you quoted something she said as an older person. Yeah. So when I quote something, do you tell people, hey, this older guy I work with, do I get referred to as that?
Yeah. If I tell the truth on air, it might damage our friendship. No, she's older than you. It's that kind of older, where it's like, she's at the point in her life where she's accepted her life as what it is. Okay. And so I can't expect everybody to have this viewpoint, but for reference, she's that old where life is like kind of like,
I better never hear that you use that reference.
If the Lord takes me now, I'll be satisfied. That's where she is in life right now. So it's different. So you're not there yet.
Okay, not quite. I got maybe a year or two.
You got a couple years left before I throw you in that basket.
I've got a couple years to hang in there. Listen, this is Out of Line. He's Caleb Harrim. I'm Brian Feldman. We've got Chris Magnum Chapman behind the wheels of steel. And, of course, in the green room, our intern extraordinaire, the social media director.
The Wiz!
Oh, I was waiting for his theme music.
Yeah.
There it is.
There we go.
There it is.
We go. Well, soccer's on. You know what's going to happen.
No, you know what? I had the wrong button hit. So
you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, silence is golden sometimes. Listen, we're going to take a real quick break. We'll try to get to Nightcap later on, but on the other side, we have Michael Babcock of TMZ Sports and a lot of interesting things to discuss with him. We'll be right back.
Fact this. If you don't like the facts, take your ass back to bed. Fact this.
Yeah, it's a fact. I've been complaining about how UFC fighters are the most underpaid professional athletes on the planet. This is something TMZ Sports' Michael Babcock says is changing thanks to the for now retired Conor McGregor.
The checks that people are getting now, which are getting increasingly bigger, and the popularity that the sport has seen, man, a lot of that, most of that is owed to Conor McGregor. So I do think that he should be given a little extra leeway where maybe some other fighters shouldn't, because he literally built this.
Yeah. I'm not going to disagree with Michael Babcock, who joins us right now on the Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studio line, that Conor McGregor is responsible for increasing paychecks amongst UFC fighters. But, Michael, I have talked about this for a long time, probably why I can't get Dana White on the show, because I complain about it all the time. I mean, the bottom line is, come on, this is a just about billionaire, right? I mean, after taxes and all that, maybe not a billionaire, but it sold for, $4 billion, the UFC. So tell me something. When are paychecks going to get real in the UFC? I know what you said. Like I said, I'll agree with you. Conor McGregor really took the sport to a new level. But even the new level, last night, the highest paid guy in a main event that probably pay-per-view dollars were through the roof, Usman got $500,000 for last night's fight. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, very, very different than boxing, clearly. And I think, like you guys said before I got on here, it has been getting better. If you don't think $500,000 is a lot, you should see what the guys and girls used to get, and it pales in comparison even to the $500,000. But I mean, look, it's Dana White has a very firm grip on the sport, and there are not a bunch of different promotions. Obviously, all these guys are under his banner, and I think that's why guys have trouble getting big contracts, because there's not much competition. There aren't many places that they can go and fight, and they have to fight in the UFC under their promotion. So I think it's tough. I think we will see the numbers continue to creep up, but I don't know that we'll ever see a fight where we're talking about Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor, where Floyd's making $300 million. I don't think you'll ever see a UFC fighter approach a figure anything close to that for a single fight.
So when we talk about the salaries of players across other leagues, like the WNBA and the NBA, for instance, which has a huge disparity in what the players are paid, and there's always a percentage that's talked about, a percentage of the revenue that goes to the players. Is there a figure on that for the UFC, and is there any validity to the fact that the revenue generated isn't being evenly dispersed among the players or among the athletes, or is there just a Dana says so this is how it is type of thing?
Yeah, and look, I don't have any figures in front of me. I've seen stuff in the past where the promotion was getting a big majority of the fight money. Clearly, that's not the case. Like I said, for when Floyd Mayweather is fighting, if he's getting $300 million, he's getting at least a good chunk of the revenue from those fights. It's not that way with the UFC. Like you said with Kamaru, if he made $500,000 last night, think how much money the UFC made. That was one of the most attractive matchups, of the matchup everyone wanted to see leading up to the fight. Dana said that the pay-per-view numbers were tracking like a Conor McGregor fight, and we know Conor's been involved in the biggest UFC events ever. So, there is no way that the UFC didn't get a huge majority of the revenue that was made from last night. We know Kamaru was the highest paid guy, and obviously Jorge Masvidal. But as you go to those early prelim cards, or early prelim fights, and some of the the first fights even on the main card, you got people that are making $30,000, $50,000, $75,000. Not a whole bunch of money considering they're putting their lives on the line. So yes, the UFC is just taking a huge chunk of the money that is made from these events.
Amanda Ribas, $24,000 for her fight against Paige Van Zandt last night. I mean, $24,000 to get your ass kicked. That's a great thing. He is Michael Babcock. You can see him and hear him all the time on TMZ Sports. I appreciate you joining the show, Michael. And again, as you said, it's pretty. You had three main events, basically. Well, the main event, obviously, Usman Masvidal was by far the biggest one. But you had two other championship fights, and in one of the championship fights, one guy made under six figures. Peter Yan made $70,000 for last night's fight. And again, Dana White probably built 3 new mansions with what he made on last night's fight. It is out of whack, and I say this all the time, Michael. I say, in the future, let's see 30 years down the road, we're going to see these guys walking around drooling on the streets. We talk about CTE in the NFL, and I've always said, what is more catastrophic? 2 guys wearing protective headgear, granted they're gigantic, running into each other, or a shin bone directly to your temple, which happens all the time in the UFC. The long-term effects of that, I believe, are going to be noticed down the road. And these guys don't even have proper pensions in place yet. They really need to get unionized in a bad way. And sooner or later, we'll see that happen. And then people will start getting paid. And one more question on the UFC before we move on. Conor McGregor, back in June, said he is retiring. We see him riding around on jet skis, his boat, having the time of his life. Dana White says when people want to retire, they should retire, that you're either all in or all out. Dana White, I should say Conor McGregor has been a cash cow for Dana White and the UFC. Dana White might be saying that, but he's full of crap. He wants Conor McGregor badly back in the ring, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Who wouldn't want Conor McGregor back? He's undoubtedly the biggest star that the sport has ever seen. And I think deep down, Dana believes that Conor isn't retired. This is the 3rd time that Conor McGregor has said he's retired. He has enough money for him, for his kids' kids to live the rest of their life comfortably without ever having to work. So it's not about money anymore, but deep down, Conor McGregor, when you take all the other crap away and, some of the things that he's done and how he acts sometimes, the guy is a fierce competitor who loves fighting. This goes back to when he was a kid, to when he walked into a boxing gym as a young man, and he just loves fighting. So I think at the end of the day, even if Conor believes right now that he's retired, I think that itch will return. He is still a young man. He's still young as far as the sport is concerned. So yes, I think Dana will offer him fights, and we know that Conor badly wants revenge against Khabib. I think Conor would love to fight Justin Gaethje. So there are really attractive fights out there, fights that would make him a lot of money. I'm not saying he doesn't like the money or want the money, but there are big fights out there. I think Conor will be back, and for sure Dana White wants him back.
Well, I think if I'm Conor McGregor, Michael, I say here's what I want. I want on Abu Dhabi, I want it to be McGregor Island rather than Yaz Island. And change the name, and I'll come back and watch. It'll be McGregor Island, and Dana White will give him a whopping 0.5% of the revenue that goes on.
Right. Well, he's asked for. That's what he wants.
I know.
He's wanted a piece of not just revenue. He's wanted a piece of the actual company. And which is funny because Dana White is, other celebrities. They're Tom Brady, Guy Fieri, a bunch of big celebrities have gotten pieces of the company before. So it's funny that they haven't been willing to part with a small percentage for one of their biggest fighters. But yeah, we know that's something that Conor wants. It wouldn't shock me if Dana White gave in at some point and actually give Conor a little piece of ownership. We'll see.
Seriously, name the UFC building out here after him or something, because like you said, he's the biggest draw that I can remember. I mean, George St. Pierre was a huge draw back then, but pales in comparison to what Conor McGregor has done to this. All right, moving on. Yesterday, Devin White threw a massive charity event, his second annual, around 2,000 people in Cotton Valley, Louisiana. COVID-19's out there. What are this little community in Louisiana thinking about a 2,000 person? Man, they could have the biggest outbreak of COVID today.
Yeah, when we got a tip that this party was on down, and Devin White is from that area in Louisiana. There, it's a very small town, like a one stoplight type of town, and we were told that he likes to do He likes to have big events and do charity, raise money for that area. Not the wealthiest area, so he wants to help. But odd timing, everything that's going on with COVID, the way it's surging across the country, and to have a party out there. Now, I spoke with his people, and there were a couple things they wanted to make clear, that this was, this is not 2,000 people in a relatively tiny room indoor. They said, look, he has a massive amount of land out there. We're doing like a horse charity ride. They said, sure, there's going to be music, be a party-like atmosphere, but we're going to encourage social distancing, stay 6 feet away, wear a mask, wash your hands. So they said at least that they were trying to, have some safety precautions here and make sure people didn't get sick. Still, I think a lot of people thought it was odd that he didn't just go ahead and postpone this party to a time when it's a little bit safer. Now, we talked to the mayor of the town, who happens to be a 90-plus-year-old man, and he said, look, Devin's from here. He wants to throw a party. What can we do? I don't know if that's true. It's a weird approach for a mayor to take. I imagine if the mayor wanted to stop it, that he probably could have done something to stop it, but that didn't happen. The party happened as scheduled, and now we just have to wait and hope that nobody gets sick.
Well, what mayor of a place called Cotton Valley, Louisiana, is going to want 2,000 people and the most news he's ever had in his life on that town today? So right. I'm sure he's happy about that. But surprising Devin would do that. Had a hell of a rookie year last year. Started 13 games, 91 tackles, a pick, 2.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. This guy's a future star and on a team that everyone's focused on right now. And now he has 2,000 people over, so he'll go and give Tom Brady COVID-19. The next big story TMC will be breaking. And rotating over and staying in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes, a casino in Reno, $50 million a year. And I said this earlier, and I stole it off the TMZ website. But if he hit every progressive jackpot in that casino, it would still be less than what he's going to make next year. Why bother?
That's insane. Insane when you think. Right. Why do any of these guys who are super rich gamble like they do? Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley. How many athletes love to gamble? I think that goes, again, kind of back to their competitive nature. But, yeah, so Patrick signs this massive deal. Then he gets Travis Kelce, their girlfriends, and they hop on beautiful private jet, fly to Lake Tahoe. They're playing in this golf tournament. They get a boat. They're out there doing fun things on the boat, having a good time. At night, they go, like we see on the video, they're gambling at a casino. So Patrick has really been celebrating. He's been living it up since he signed that $503 million deal. But, man, who's a bigger star in the NFL right now than Patrick Mahomes? And he is certainly enjoying himself, and his buddy Travis Kelce is right there with him.
Yeah, well, the biggest gamble wasn't him going to the casino. It's probably throwing something at Travis Kelce on the golf course. I wouldn't throw anything at Travis Kelce, even if I was his best damn friend. Finally, J.R. Smith in the news again, this time not taking off his shirt, but he's down. They make him get off Instagram Live the other day because he is adamantly complaining about the accommodations in the hotel bubble, the newest member of the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, what does he expect? A couple of these guys are complaining they're not happy with the accommodations. They're not happy with the food. They're not happy with the blankets. Come on, Michael. These prima donnas are killing me, man.
Right. J.R. Smith was just signed to the Lakers. It was a month ago that we had video of him beating up some guy in the street who had just vandalized his car. And now J.R. Smith is actually a part of the Los Angeles Lakers. He's got a really good chance of winning an NBA title here. And his first day that he's in the NBA bubble out down there in Disney in Orlando, and he's doing this Instagram Live. He's complaining. He's showing the food. And then he gets a call from somebody. And I made phone calls in this because I wanted to know if it was the Lakers or if it was the NBA who called, but nobody wanted to talk about that. But he gets a call from somebody who says, "Stop, get off Instagram Live. You're showing too much." And J.R. Smith then abruptly ends his Instagram Live video where he is complaining about all of the NBA's accommodations. So it did not take J.R. Smith very long to start acting like J.R. Smith. Now we'll see. We'll see what happens here. He's got a lot of time left in that bubble. Let's see if he can stay off of social media. I wouldn't be surprised though if we have another Instagram Live session here sometime soon.
Oh, guaranteed. He'll have his shirt off tomorrow. He'll be on Instagram Live again, like eating something and showing us a piece of moldy bread that he probably forgot was sitting in his room for 3 days. He's Michael Babcock, TMZ Sports. Love what you do. Really enjoy watching you, Michael. Keep up the great work. And before I let you go, final prediction. I have been on this bandwagon for a month and a half saying that when it's all said and done, at best, we will see the start of all these professional sports. We'll see the start of the NHL. We'll see the start of Major League Baseball. We'll see the start of the NBA. I don't see, unless these numbers start going backwards, I do not see any of these leagues completing their season, and I have no idea what the hell is going to go on with the NFL, which is right around the corner. Michael, I know you've got your hands on the pulse of all this. I need your prediction, man. Are we going to see professional sports this year, team sports, get to fruition and get to the final and see champions in each one of these sports? Or do you think, like I think, that with the way things are, the direction we're heading, no way are we completing seasons?
Yeah, you could absolutely be right about that, Brian. My gut feeling is that if a league actually starts, I think things are really going to have to go to hell for them to stop. So if the NBA actually does re-tip off this thing, I think they are going to finish. If they don't tip it off and if people continue to get sick, I could definitely see it stopping before it ever started. But my gut does tell me if they start that they are not going to stop, barring an absolute catastrophe. So I guess we'll see what happens. I could absolutely be wrong. You could be right. But I do think if they start, they will finish.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Aroldis Chapman just testing positive for the New York Yankees. We're seeing more and more. There's another superstar going down. And again, I don't see the NBA prima donnas. Number one, they'll be complaining about testing every day, no matter how non-abrasive the test is. And number two, like they're not going to be sneaking women into these facilities from outside of the bubble. And that's where I think we're going to have the problems. It's going to be social interaction. You're just not going to keep everyone from not interacting socially. There's just no way. My opinion, I could be wrong. He is probably right. He is Michael Babcock, TMZ Sports. Brother, as always, man, appreciate you.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Listen, we're going to take a real quick break. We'll come back. We'll really quickly get through Nightcap. We've got S&B with C, and we'll talk a little bit about the NFL.
Hockey players, as you know, are warriors. They don't give up. They come to play every game.
It's time for Nightcap, a cupful of the Vegas Golden Knights. From highlights to interviews to special events, the puck starts here.
Phase 3 is here. The start of training camp is scheduled to begin tomorrow, and that's Vegas Golden Knights along with all the other NHL teams that will be participating in the run for this year's Stanley Cup, if there is one. General Manager Kelly McCrimmon announced today yesterday, announced the final roster and schedule for the team's 2020 July training camp. And again, he is going to be, I guess, in an hour and a half after we end the show, he is going to be talking to the media. And I don't know what he's going to be discussing, but it has 100% officially been decided that the two host cities will be Edmonton and Toronto. As Chris mentioned a long time ago, Canada's getting it right. They've gotten it right, and they don't let U.S. citizens cross the border. I know Detroit, they've shut them down. So
states in Mexico are closing their border too.
Yeah, it's a smart move, but they're going to let the hockey players all come over, and the games are supposed to begin on August the 1st, and they're going to have a qualifier, 16 teams playing 8 best-of-5 series, and a round robin among the top 4 teams by points percentage in each conference to determine seeding for the Stanley Cup playoffs. The 8 teams that advance from the best-of-5 series will join the top 4 teams from each conference, and that will determine the playoffs. Chris, we talked about it. It's getting ready to get started here. I think we are going to, again, like we're seeing in all the other sports, as they all get to camp, we're going to find more positive tests. It's just the way it seems to be going.
I don't think so, because these guys have all been skating in groups for a few weeks now, and there haven't been a ton of positive tests in the NHL. There may be a couple, but I don't think there's going to be a ton. I think the NHL got it right. I think they will finish the season. I think they'll start when they say they're going to start. They nailed it. I mean, maybe it's a little bit of wishful thinking on my part, but and I shouldn't be popping the champagne just yet, but I feel like the NHL has kind of followed the model that we've seen with these soccer leagues. You get guys together in small groups, you keep them isolated, and then when it's time, you start your games. I mean, once these soccer leagues have started, no players have tested positive in Europe.
Well, you know what's funny, Chris, is the NHL is soccer. You're talking about sports, number one, with the most international flair. So obviously we're seeing other countries that have done it right. And number two, NHL players out of the four major sports, without question, have the smallest egos. Not that they don't have, some of the guys don't have really big egos, like a Sidney Crosby.
You're not going to see those guys on Instagram complaining about the
that's
hotel
why they'll stay together.
Especially when they're staying in Disney World. Freaking, are you kidding me? Yeah. You're staying at Disney World and you're upset about the accommodations. You know, there's people on Earth that haven't been to Disney World and will never be able to afford the luxury of that bubble, and you're going to complain about it?
And you just
that really bothers me.
And what's crazy is with J.R. Smith, you just got put on a team that does have a very viable chance.
They handed you a ring. They're handing you a championship ring.
You get to play with LeBron again.
You've done none of the work. You've done none of the work, and you're complaining about being trapped at Disney World for Christ. I saw a video of a guy alone at a pool at Disney World Resort. Like, it's not like they're shutting down the pool. They're not. You know, shutting any of that stuff. You can still enjoy all that. And you're going to complain about the
complaint is probably his filet was overcooked. His filet mignon was a little overcooked.
Miss me with that, JR.
You know, they got ridiculous. The part-time chefs going on there. It's sickening. But, we'll see. Again, the Western Conference teams are going to be playing at Rogers Arena in Edmonton, and the Eastern Conference will be at Scotia Bank Arena in Toronto, and everything looks like it's a go. So that's Rocky. Caleb, S&B with C. The Raiders, they've got a new chaplain.
Yeah, so big news. Not much happening in the NFL. You know, the preseason games got canceled week 1 and week 4 of the preseason, obviously. And so that affects Allegiant Stadium's home opening, I guess, a little bit. But the only news that's new this week is that really Randall Cunningham, who is a UNLV graduate, former NFL quarterback for the Eagles, and spent some time with the Vikings, my opinion, a Hall of Famer. But
does he still have the record for the longest punt in the NFL?
I think so. And I think he has the record for the longest pass. I don't know if he still has that record. But one of the greatest plays from scrimmage when he almost got sacked in the back of the end zone.
Fred Barnett had the reception.
Yes. Yep, and one of the longest plays from scrimmage. But he has been hired as a team chaplain for the Raiders. He has his own church here in Las Vegas, up in the north, I guess you'd say, or southwest quadrant of the valley. But so he's been named the team chaplain for the Raiders. So that's a big deal for him, for them. I think he's a good guy. He's a great person to have around in the locker room, and giving those life skills, that life advice as a team chaplain. So that's what's new with the Raiders this week.
Gives the Raiders inadvertently another UNLV connection.
Yeah,
kind of, right?
And they keep. I'm going to slide right in there one of these days. You watch.
We got to work on that.
I'll be the team fanboy or something. Who knows?
And, of course, at one point, Randall Cunningham, the ultimate weapon, he was called on the cover of Sports Illustrated years ago, and really a super dynamic quarterback in his day. And, if he'd play on better teams, maybe he would have done some better things. Real quickly, one of the things we left off TMZ Sports, and I wanted to make sure to touch on this, that Mark McGwire's 70th home run. If you remember, back in 1998, the big chase, they just had the big ESPN 30 for 30 on Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire going for the home run record. And, of course, Mark McGwire hits his 70th home run. A sports collector, famous one of the most famous ones in our country, Todd McFarlane, bought the ball for $3 million. Well, that ball today, he might get $300,000 for the ball. They say the 62nd home run is actually more valuable than the 70th because, of course, Barry Bonds broke the record like 2 years later. But they say the 62nd, and some usher at the stadium found the 62nd and gave it to Mark McGwire, got nothing for it. Maybe a signed bat. So that's it. Hey, listen, I want to thank Michael Babcock, TMZ Sports, for joining the show. Always great stuff. My co-host, Caleb Herring, Chris Magnum Chapman behind the wheels of steel, and, of course, in the Blue Room. That's it. The only intern with his own theme music, Spencer the Wiz Ostrowski. I'm Brian Feldman. This is Out of Line. We're here every Sunday, 8 to 9, Fox Sports Radio, 98.9 FM, 1340 AM. We will be back next week. Bye-bye.